A month and a half in, on this deployment, we got a phone call from a village elder, and we went ahead and went out like normal, swept the ground like normal. We always had a minesweeper in front of us, and he didn't have anything alarm him, and came to a short halt, took my backpack off, about a 120-pound backpack full of ammo and grenades and water and food and everything, and I set it on a bomb.
Welcome to The Follow-Up from Premier Speakers Bureau, featuring in-depth conversations with the world's most in-demand keynote speakers.
Today we have with us Travis Mills. So Travis has done a lot of amazing things. He has his own Netflix show about him. The author of the bestseller Tough as They Come. Global speaker, gets incredible ratings from everybody, and we're lucky to have you here with us today. So Travis, thanks for coming on.
Yes, also very good looking. You forgot to mention.
Absolutely.
Very good looking.
Absolutely. I've been getting a lot of like a Chris Pratt vibe.
Yes, thank you.
In more ways than one.
Yes, we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Like he has a six-pack and I want a six-pack. And he just acted in Terminalist, and I love it. I'm watching it right now. But no, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you coming here. I know today you're speaking to like 800 people, and you've been all across the country sharing your story. And so could you just give me some background of, obviously you're in the military. Mm-hmm. Where did you get your start? What drew you to the military?
So I was in college playing sports, and I realized that college wasn't really my thing. Mm-hmm. Like the whole going to school and studying, I was done with it. So I wanted to go to college when I was ready for it. I didn't think I was really spending the amount of time I should be on the books. So, I moved home, and always was interested in the military. I went to the Air Force and the Navy, the Army and the Marines and the Coast Guard, and checked them all out, and just happened the Army was the best option for me. Mm-hmm. And I joined because my dad was in the Army. A lot of family served. My Uncle Brian was a big inspiration to me. He was like, the military is great, but you got to make the military work for you, mm-hmm. and make sure you get out of it as much as you're going to put into it. And I joined in 2006 in a time when I knew I was going to go to war, mm-hmm.
Especially
when I was an infantry guy.
Yeah.
And some of the best days of my life and the worst days of my life all happened while serving. So just excited to be in the military, but that's what got me started, just kind of trying to find my way.
And you were in the 82nd, right?
Oh, I was in is there anything else out there?
Maybe that's the only one.
82nd Airborne Division.
The 82nd.
Yeah, and it's a
legendary,
greatest division ever known to mankind. It makes the Roman Empire look weak. You know what I'm saying? That's how good we are.
Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn, but beep, beep. You know what I'm saying?
That's great. And so kind of where did that help shape you from leadership, teamwork, some of those things that, what did you kind of learn from all of that?
Well, I had a gentleman sum it up for me the best way possible a couple weeks ago. I was at a speaking event in Indianapolis. And he was in the Army, and he was a captain. And he said, Travis, everything's easier when you have to. And I never thought about my life and why I'm able to recover from my injuries and go forward in life. But I realized in the Army, everything was easier because you had to do it. There wasn't a question, am I going to go to work today? Am I going to get my hair cut? Am I going to do this or that? You had to. That was your job, and you had to get it done. So the Army molded and shaped me into hey, look, we have a job, we have something to get done, we're going to go get it done, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think that helped me with my leadership and my training, throughout my whole Army career, as well as when I got out, realizing people are always like, how'd you get better? How'd you do it? I don't understand how you live life every day, the way you do. And for me, everything's easier when you have to. I can't give up on myself. I have a wonderful wife of 14 years. Our daughter, Chloe, was 6 months old when I was injured. And, I'm still their dad, or my daughter's dad, and my wife's, husband. And there was no other option. It was either lay here and do nothing or get better, I guess. So the easy choice was to get better. And I think just having those days in the military when you're so mad, you're either going to cry or laugh, and you're 36 hours on a mission straight, and you just start laughing, and you're like, okay, let's just get after it. I think that really helped shape and mold me into who I am today.
Mm-hmm. So can you take us back to that? So if I understand correctly, you're redeploying. So you've got your wife Kelsey, and how old was your daughter at the time?
So when my third deployment came around, I was going to Afghanistan for only a 9-month tour. I had orders taking me actually to some other Fort Hood, and I got them canceled because I thought my men deserved to have me on deployment, and there was a real brotherhood there, and I was their leader and their boss. And I had them, nixed so I could go over when we left February of 2012, late February, and my daughter was 6 months old, and my wife and I said our goodbyes, and I went overseas. And the first day in country was just a massive firefight with the Taliban. We really mixed it up, and I think I got a Bronze Star that day for some valor on the battlefield, but I did nothing special. Just went down and saved a guy in the middle of a firefight and just doing my job. And we had days like that. Like every day, it seemed like we were just getting into it with the Taliban. And a month and a half in, on this deployment, we got a phone call from a village elder, and we went ahead and went out like normal, swept the ground like normal. We always had a minesweeper in front of us, and he didn't have anything alarm him. And came to a short halt, took my backpack off, about 120-pound backpack full of ammo and grenades and water and food and everything. And I set it on a bomb. And when the bomb went off, it ripped off my right arm, right leg instantly. My left leg was really badly damaged. My left arm was still there, but barely working. And I hit the ground, rolled over, and saw what happened. My medic and my platoon sergeant ran up to talk to me and to work on me. And I told them, don't worry about it. I think they were going to save me anyway. And I thought I was just wasting their time. Yeah. So they worked on me, and I radioed my lieutenant with my hand that still worked, and I asked for his medic to come help us because we were injured, had other guys injured. So his medic came over, and they worked on me and got me on a helicopter, and 14 hours of surgery, and 9 doctors and 7 nurses worked tirelessly and saved my life, while I was at Kandahar Hospital, which I found a very fun and wild fact. In Kandahar Hospital, if you make it there alive, no matter your injury, you have a 99% chance of living through your trauma.
Really?
I mean, nuts, right?
Yeah.
Nuts. And I know we're probably not here to talk statistics on battlefield capabilities and where they come from Vietnam.
I think it's interesting, so go ahead.
But just impressive. They gave me 400 units of blood during my surgeries. I was given blood directly from the nurses' veins because the blood bank ran out, and people rushed to the door on Kandahar to donate blood. And I came out of it as a triple amputee. And then 4 days later, they woke me up, and I happened to have a surgery 2 days after my injury, and I had my hand cut off, so I was a quad. And I woke up on April 14th. 2012 to find out I was a quadruple amputee. And it just so happened to be my mom and dad's favorite day that day, not because their favorite child lived, but because their favorite child was actually born. So my birthday was the day I woke up in the hospital, my 25th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
amazing. So first, that's amazing with the doctors and nurses that worked on you and doing that. I mean, that's amazing. What's sort of your mental process there? You wake up and this is, you're on your birthday. That's quite a big present to have.
So I ignored everybody. My brother-in-law, who was in the Army as well, or still is, he was with me in the room, and the doctors and nurses came in, and they all tried to ask me questions, and I ignored them, right? Because I have my own questions, right? Am I a bad person? Does God hate me? What did I do wrong in life to deserve this? Bigger questions, how can I be a husband and a father? That was a big thing, just ripping through my head all the time. And then I also had the lingering thought and question of, why didn't I just die? How is this going to be better? And just, finally I called my wife and my parents, and my mom said happy birthday. My wife, I told her I didn't, I was fine, but I really didn't have a conversation. I didn't want to. And then I just kind of had to cope with what was going on. And there was definitely some dark times. I had a special treatment that was only second person in the nation to ever have it, and 30th in the world, which is called a ketamine coma. Okay. And I was in such bad pain that they thought I was either going to overdose because I was getting so immune to the drugs, or I was going to be in chronic pain the rest of my life. So they had these different trial things they were having me, like my wife had to sign off. And I had what's called a ketamine coma, and it reset my brain to think where my nerves end is where my arms and legs end now is where my nerves actually end, instead of them trying to find my hands and feet, which was causing all the pain.
Oh yeah.
And it was crazy, but I went out for 5 days with 600 milligrams per hour pumping through me, and I woke up and crazy hallucinations because it's like LSD or PCP style drug. And fast forward to now, I don't have any pain. Don't take any medication for it, and I'm very grateful to have that surgery. Looking back on it, but no, I mean it was, it's not easy by any means. But luckily, I had my daughter, my 6-month-old, laying there on my chest, and we would play, ball, roll it back and forth to each other eventually, and learn how to walk with her. And I credit her and my wife for my recovery. I mean, I've mentioned my father-in-law travels with me and hangs out, and my mom and dad and my mother-in-law were all very, very close, so that works out really good too.
Yeah, and what was it like when your wife first came back together?
Actually, she ran up to me and they stopped her short on the 17th of April, and they said, "Mrs. Mills, your husband's right leg is ripped open, his sutures have split, so we have to cut 2 inches off his right leg or he'll bleed out and die." And she's 23, 6-month-old on her hip, getting stopped and said, "Hey, we got to cut your husband up. Like, you haven't really seen him yet, but we got to take more of his leg off." And she, it was a little shock and awe factor, and I had to just tell her, like, "Hey, it's okay, just sign it, we're good." And the next day on the 18th, she came to my room and I talked to her and I said, I've been thinking about this. You don't have to do this. Like, this isn't the life I would choose for you. Here she is, caring for an infant with a husband now that can literally do nothing for himself, just like a baby. Like, I had to be fed and help change my clothes and, anything and everything you can imagine. I had to ask for help for it. So, I was telling her she should go. She should take the house, the cars, any money saved up, and financially whatever I had, or whatever I was going to be having, come my way would be all for her and Chloe, and they could go. And, she was like, that's not how this works. We'll get through this together. So, just an amazing lady, and I think that's mostly the reason I am who I am today. I know I said I didn't have a choice, but having my wife and my daughter there at that time and being by my side, and I'm actually like, I don't talk back to my mom. I've never yelled at my wife in anger. We don't get in those kind of arguments. I just, if I'm upset, I'll be quiet. I don't think that solves anything by yelling. But my mother did one time sit in my room, and I woke up and I said, hey, where's Chloe at? And she's like, oh, Kelsey and Chloe already came and they left because you were sleeping. And I think my mom said, never, ever let me sleep through that again. Like, that's the only reason this is worth getting better, It's about the sternest I've ever been my mother, though. So
yeah.
I hope that's okay to say to your viewers.
We'll let it slide this time.
Hi, Mom.
All right. Luke says it's okay.
Yeah, good.
So appreciate it. I do like, you're talking about the Army, you do it because you don't have any other choice, but you had a lot of choices laying there about what your life was going to look like. And even if it was a lot different than you had planned it to be, kind of your big overall goal, in the Army, you serve and you help other people. What are the choices that you made when you couldn't serve like you thought you could?
Yeah, so I decided in my recovery early on that I was going to help people because I had a gentleman come in and show me that I was going to be okay. He had both arms and legs gone. He flew in from Missouri, and he said he's the second ever quadruple amputee, Todd Nicely. He said, look, man, I understand where you're at. Here's a few things. You're not a bad person. Nothing you did made this happen. You're going to be fine. You're going to walk and drive. And then I was like, I'm going to give that same hope that he gave me to everybody that comes in. So for 19 months at Walter Reed Recovering, I went to everybody's room that was new and said hi. And I had a little bit of a nudge from the therapist and the nurses because they knew that I was a pretty upbeat guy and happy. And they were, because of HIPAA or medical, rules, they were like, hey, we can't tell you who's upstairs and what room they're in, but we can tell you that the person you're looking for is not in 40 and he's not in 42. If you can find him, then you got a Marine over here, like, I don't know what room he's in. And Travis, I don't know how you're going to find that because, Marines, they're just.
Yeah.
But no, so I would go up and say hi. And before I knew it, was like, hey, Travis, PFC Johnson just got here, missing 2 legs. Can you go talk with him? And my wife and I decided that we were showing so much love and respect and support that we wanted to give back. We didn't know how it was going to look, but we started the Travis Mills Foundation. And we were going to do care packages. So I started my own nonprofit to give back, and we donated $5,000 from ourselves. And after experiencing some very incredible adrenaline rushes with downhill mountain biking and snowboarding and monoskiing and a whole bunch of them, we decided that we should bring some families out to Maine where we're going to move, and we should have these same activities, but for a whole family to do. And we went ahead and bought Elizabeth Arden's old estate. She was a cosmetic pioneer, one of the wealthiest women in the world in her day. And in 1929, she built this gorgeous estate. It was in really bad disrepair. We bought it, renovated it, and now we have the Travis Mills Foundation Veterans Retreat Center where we bring out 8 families per week with physical injuries, right? So paralyzation, amputation, spinal cord injuries, maybe they were shot, a car accident, something during service.
Yeah.
And we show them to keep pushing forward, that life goes on, and to never live life on the sidelines. And we've grown to be one of the top, veteran service organizations in the nation. We bring in, because of our wonderful donors, millions of dollars a year, and I don't take a dime of it. I'm never going to pay myself for this work. And we've helped over 800 families come to this retreat in the last 5 years, and thousands of people. And we've been fortunate to expand to a post-traumatic stress program as well. So first responders and combat veterans can come, and we get a grant for this, and it's all paid for. And we just want to keep helping and giving back. So, I mean, it's rewarding for sure, but it's also more about, like, how can I get people to realize their life's not over no matter what situation they have going on? And this seemed like the best way to do that. Yeah,
I absolutely love that. So do you have any stories that you can share from that? Maybe that, I know you've got an amazing story. Any stories from people who've gone through your program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had, gentlemen that were injured come up and just be in tears because they never thought they could ride a bike again. And we have these hand crank bikes, and we set them up and we line them up with a person that's going to show them how to do it. And this dad with 4 kids and his wife were out riding again. He's breaking down, big tough guy. he's breaking down like, I never thought I'd ride bikes with my kids, and we do stuff like that, and then everybody's got a little tear in their eye because they're just so overcome with that joy that you get. And it actually made us start a new program called Recalibrate, where we take families like that maybe can't afford or don't know how to find a hand crank bike, and we find a way to get them one so they can ride with their families. We've had spouses that have said, like, this one lady, and I don't make it very clear, there's men and women that get injured, so I'm just saying this is a story. This gentleman, his wife was there, and she said, this is the first time my husband's acted like he did before he deployed. I finally got to see the man that I married when we've been here. And you're like, oh, that's great, and then you realize that he hasn't acted like that since 4 years prior, because he's been injured for 4 years. He hasn't come out of his shell, but this is, it's non-clinical, the place we have, and it's everybody's in the same boat, and they all end up talking with each other, become lifelong friends. And I live in a small town in Maine where nobody has no arms and legs like me from injuries like I had. But bringing people together and letting them talk is a huge thing. And then we have kids that cry, saying it's better than Disney World, or they got to go do the rock wall with their dad who's in a wheelchair, and the ropes course. So just it's really great stuff, right? I don't spend a lot of time out there as much as I'd love to. I have a few other businesses that I've started and got to be a part of. So I stay as busy as possible, but I know that we're giving something back to these veterans and their families to show them that, not only myself, but our donors and their supporters and volunteers and staff care about their sacrifice and want to be there to help them along their journey of recovery.
Very good. And what's the website, or where can people find out about it?
TravisMillsFoundation.org.
Okay.
That's why my son's name is not Travis Mills. My wife said I name everything after myself, like my speaking, Travis Mills Group or whatever, and I get in trouble. So, but no, lets the cat out of the bag. In case you guys are wondering, still got it. Hey. But we have a son as well. He's 4 years old now. He's named after the medics Daniel and Alexander, so his name's Dax.
Oh, very cool. I love it. So, and obviously you founded this. You're also involved in a lot of different businesses. So, kind of how did you turn your experience and everything else into being an entrepreneur?
I think that I've been able to start these businesses and believe in myself because I almost died, realizing life's too short to live, on the sidelines and not go after what you want. So I got offered to buy a marina, and I convinced my neighbor to buy it with me. When my wife said, don't you guys do this, we just drank more whiskey and we did it. And we've expanded it. It was like 30 cabins and cottages and rooms on the lake and 70 boat slips. Now it's 180 boat slips with a cafe and boat rentals and whatnot. And then I just opened a restaurant about 5-6 months ago with some buddies, and we're up for #1 best new restaurant in Down East Magazine for Maine, which is exciting. And
the Travis Mills restaurant?
Well, it's the White Cut Brew Pub, but yeah. And then I'm fortunate to go speak around the nation, as well as small. I just have a lot going on. My wife would probably like it if I didn't so much, but I keep myself busy and I enjoy it. And I know that when I'm out there giving a presentation, there are people that get something out of it. Today I had a gentleman from Vietnam crying about the things I was saying about the Vietnam vets and how to get respect and how things like that, and other people saying, I have a sister that's going through cancer and it's relatable, and I'm going to send her your website to just check out what you have going on. And that means the world to me, because I'm not good at compliments, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'll joke around and say I'm awesome, and then I'm humble in my presentation. I say that like in that order, but really when people tell me about the foundation, how good it's going, it's like I have wonderful staff and amazing volunteers that are doing all this, and my donors are out of this world. And I'm not great with the compliments because I just see myself as a regular everyday guy, but I do appreciate when everybody's getting some value out of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the steps? So obviously everyone has a different story. Obviously you've had the background of being a quadruple amputee. If someone is just going through something really difficult, like you mentioned, cancer or loss or something else, what are some sort of concrete steps? Like today, they haven't been themselves for 4 years, like that person you're talking about. What are some specific steps they can take to get pointed in the right direction?
Well, absolutely. I think it comes down to their personality and how they're going to react. I mean, sometimes there's tough love needed, and sometimes there's a little more coddling. And my wife's aunt, she had cancer, and she got the diagnosis, and and I didn't know really what to say, but I called her and I said, I got to be honest with you, like, the worst of it's over. And as weird as that sounds, I said, knowing is the worst part, finding out. But now it's what are you going to do to push forward and just do everything you can to beat cancer, which she did. I mean, it's wonderful. But I think that's the thing. We have to as society, I guess, or as people that are going through something terrible, they have to first understand and accept what happened. Like me, I don't look at myself as a wounded veteran, right? I don't like the term wounded. I think it has negative, like I'm still injured, and I'm not. So I just say recalibrated, or I just say I'm Travis, But it's about finding your new normal and accepting that. And for me, I have a couple extra steps in the morning, right? My legs go on, then my pants, my arm, then my shirt. And you go about your life like that. So I'd say step number one is like understanding, like, okay, this happened, or this is happening, and how can I, live for a better tomorrow by understanding what's going on today. And then I have 2 life lessons I always share, and the first thing is don't dwell on the past, right? Just reminisce it. I had 25 amazing years, 1 bad day at work, and I really don't dwell on that because I can't change it. There's nothing I can do. No matter how many times I've closed my eyes and I'd hoped and I wished and I prayed this never happened in a hospital bed and ask myself how to wake up from this nightmare. This can't be real life. Well, it is. It is real life.
Yeah.
And instead of dwelling on it, I just reminisce what I had. I had really amazing 25 years with arms and legs. And I've had 10 since my injury. April 10th this past year made 10 years for me. And we've been able to do some really incredible things. And then on top of that, I tell everybody, you can't always control your situation, but you can always control your attitude.
Yeah.
And my situation doesn't really change, right? I wake up, no arms, no legs on. At my house in Maine, I jump to my wheelchair, get my arm off a charger, and I go make my coffee, and I set my wife's coffee up, and my wife will eventually wake up, my kids, and we go about our day like normal. And I'm the only person in control of my attitude. I mean, my wife might be able to change my attitude real quick, but that's the thing. Like, I don't let my injuries or what happened to me get me down because I was given that chance to live. I have some amazing, amazing friends that didn't make it back home. And a big thing for me is perspective, right? Everything's about perspective and putting it into perspective. And my good friend Francis Sheen Phillips IV, went by Frankie. He, third deployment, his truck hit a bomb. Everybody in the truck that day died. And I don't say that to make you sad or anything like anybody watching this to be sad. I tell you that because I was given the chance to live through my injuries, because those doctors and nurses cared enough to not loosen that tourniquet and let me bleed out, but to work 14 hours and pump more blood into me from their veins when they ran out of blood in the blood bank. And Frankie's wife would give anything to have him in my situation. His daughter would give anything to have her dad back, and his mom would give anything for one more phone call.
Yeah.
And they're unfortunate they're not going to get that. But I have that ability. I have my wife, I have my daughter, I have my son, and my parents. We live in an incredible place. The nation takes care of me, so I appreciate that. Keep paying your taxes. And no, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm not good at the serious. I mean, I am good at serious. I can do serious, but.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What's the next big Travis Mills project?
Next big Travis Mills project. I think that we can always do better and be better. So I'm starting a clothing company, actually an apparel line called Rebel for Good. And, the country is born on rebels. I think there's more people that agree on things. I think we all agree as a human race on things rather than disagree. Yeah. And I want to bring people back together. And we're a company with a cause. So when I launch this apparel line in a month or two, 15% goes back to nonprofits. We're partnering with a children cancer nonprofit, a women's shelter and abuse nonprofit, as well as an environmental clean water drinking in the U.S. nonprofit, and my Travis Mills Foundation nonprofit. So whenever you check out, you can pick one of the 4, or if you don't pick one of the 4, one will be picked randomly, and it will be donated from the profit that we make, not out of the person that's buying the shirt and being a part of this movement. So just always something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and for going around the country inspiring people and feeding people up in Maine with your amazing restaurant. So.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. The duck poutine confit, right? You guys say it like that with the hand and all. I found out real quick from the chef when I was telling people on opening week, oh my gosh, we got this duck confit poutine. It's made with real duck droppings, and he said, Travis, it's drippings. Duck drippings.
It's very different.
We can learn something new every day, but apparently don't tell the guest it's made with duck droppings, because that is wrong. But no, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. We got about 12 questions in, I think, so I was right in the middle.
Yeah, you're amazing. So everybody, thank you for watching. We're talking about how he was asking me how much of a talker he was, and I'm like, I don't know. He also does some amazing things there. As promised, there you go. So cool. Well, so everyone watching, thank you for watching the Beyond Speaking podcast, listening. Make sure to subscribe and comment. And Travis, thanks again so much for coming on.
Absolutely appreciate that. And I'm on the manana diet, in case you guys are wondering how you look so good. I'm always starting it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the follow-up. To learn more about today's guest, go to premierspeakers.com. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen.